Don't look up at the light. Don't look
Catching
into
up
the
with the
light.
Tolberts. The Eclipse Edition. We are here at Tolbert and Tolbert Law Firm, right in the midst of the eclipse, but we have more pressing news with attorneys Michael and Shalise Tolbert. Every month I drop in to catch up. News is always good and bright news going on right here at Tolbert and Tolbert. And I'm going to start with how I love that. No, I want to say happy belated birthdays to you both and myself. When was yours?
March 4th.
March 4th.
I was a little bit later or earlier, February 3rd.
February 3rd, and then me, March 30th. So,
happy
yay.
belated.
Another year around the sun,
Yes.
keeping with this whole
That's right.
eclipse conversation.
Look at that.
Yes, so glad to be here. And I was sharing with everybody how I had a little bout with the flu last week, and now I'm back on and feeling great. And so it just feels good to be out sharing good news like I'm used to doing. Now, a lot of times our clients collide in that I'll work on projects where more than one CWIT client is a part of it. And I didn't necessarily work on this project, but I heard from you, Attorney Tolbert, that Mr. Haywood of Haywood and Fleming Associates served as an expert under the area of insurance for a recent case. How did that go? I heard he did an amazing job.
Oh, of course. He's a consummate professional. He did a great job. And it was probably one of our firm's bigger cases. And shout out to the city of East Chicago for entrusting us with the ability to be able to handle their work. But it was a case that involved allegations of political retaliation and a termination of an employee.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason that the reason that was given by our client, the city, was that the person was an insurance risk. Okay, so that was a non-political reason for why he was terminated. The plaintiff, who I won't say his name, but the plaintiff said, no, you got rid of me because of politics. So I thought that Roosevelt, there would not be anybody better than Roosevelt to be able to come in and explain the complexities and the nuances of insurance.
Yes.
Because I darn sure wasn't about to do it, because that's not my area.
That's not your area, right?
I know my lane, and that's one of my, I have many faults, and that's not one of them is getting outside my lane. So I talked to Roosevelt, and I explained to him the case and asked if he would be happy to help. And he said he would, and he was just an extremely great witness. He showed up to the trial. He testified, and the jury. He was early.
I know,
he was early, and he explained to the jury what policy exclusions were, what underwriting was. Very complicated stuff that he made sound very simple. Mm-hmm. We were able to win the case, and then the case went up on appeal. And what I was very happy about is they gave very good remarks about Roosevelt's experience level, and his how important his testimony was to helping them decide that the case that we won at the trial court level should be affirmed.
And no need for an appeal.
Yeah, that was the appeal. So, and they had a specific amount of time to appeal it to the U.S. Supreme Court. Ooh. But we knew the U.S. Supreme Court wasn't going to want to touch that case.
They don't want to touch Roosevelt Haywood III.
That's right.
And congratulations to him and his team. They will be celebrating. This is their 40th year.
Oh, wow.
And so, rightfully so, he was able to just speak on insurance with the greatest of ease. Well, I love that. That's always something new that I learn when I come to the firm. So calling on expert witnesses to help bolster your case to give it greater credibility.
Yes.
One thing that I want to say about that is that although I didn't work on that case personally with Michael and our former associate, I think that one of the conscious things that Michael did was looking for someone locally.
Yes.
And making sure that it was someone that understood the ins and out of that client's municipality and how the insurance needs had to be met for that. So I think it was a very conscious decision on Michael's part in the strategy very early on to get Mr. Haywood involved.
Yeah,
bravo.
And I think that's a really good point, particularly for this catching up with the Tolberts in terms of the message that you so graciously always send to the viewers and the audience, is that support is extremely important. Not only support of us, it's not about us, it's about supporting local, supporting people right here in our communities. And why would I go outside and get, some other insurance professional when we had the best? Sometimes people don't realize the best is a rock's throw away.
Exactly.
And he was literally a rock's throw away.
Right down Brockway.
And it worked out. We were able to get a great win for a great client. And he was able to that was his first time testifying. Too.
Really?
That was, and he wouldn't have been able to tell.
Oh, no.
But he did fine.
He's so well spoken,
Yes.
and again, 40 years in the game.
That's right.
And then even longer, just with him and just the family and just a legacy and a household name when we think insurance. So shameless plug for Haywood and Fleming Associates, Roosevelt Haywood III. Thank you for that. And a little birdie told me that you all have grown your team. Is there some folks joining or someone joining the team?
Yes. So we have hired a new associate,
Right.
as well as a new paralegal. We're still looking for a paralegal to fill the other role and a legal assistant. So,
Okay. So will we do a rollout later, maybe in the newsletter? I need headshots and bios.
We'll be doing that later. So,
Okay,
yeah.
well, congratulations on that, because we always ask, when you're hiring that we recommend, and hopefully those that are in the community can recommend, and we get people from the community, we can hire in the community, and it all comes full circle.
Mhm.
So the other thing that's all a buzz is your latest podcast. So every day it comes up in my feed with Shalice's full attitude about who and who is not her friend based on actions of just unfamiliarity. If I haven't seen or heard from you in decades, don't send me an invitation to your child's open house. And we haven't seen one another since I didn't even know you had kids. So what is the latest podcast? What's the name of this episode of Mary's People's Business? This is hilarious.
Fake friends.
Fake friends.
How to recognize or spot a backstabber. And that's what I said.
And she said what she said. Now, how do we come up with that topic?
Well,
It's been some backstabbing going on, something that I need to get involved in as an expert witness.
We've had experiences.
We've had some experiences. We left out some names, but as we come up with the topics, I'm more of an executor. The creative mind is Michael.
Okay.
So he'll come up with some things and bounce them off of me. And as we told you all before, we don't rehearse this.
Right.
We just come up with the
Like
topic
this.
and we do our own research or whatever, and we'll say, okay, here's some areas we're gonna hit. I have no idea what's gonna come out of this man's mouth.
Any of us?
He has no idea what's gonna come out of mine. And but we were like, this is a good topic that applies not only to, your personal relationships, but also to business relationships.
Sure.
So we kind of, blended both of them and had a good time with it. It's always a good time.
It is.
Okay, now, without revealing the whole podcast, because obviously we want you to go to YouTube and watch it and subscribe, but what was one of your tips on identifying a fake friend, or one of the highlights for you, Michael?
Well, so we compiled a 10-point list, because that's what lawyers do. We love our subsections to rules and lists.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up with a 10-point list, and I would say mostly compiled of pet peeves of both of ours.
Mm-hmm.
So you heard her rant about being invited to graduation parties when you don't know the kids.
You're right.
So I would say one of my pet peeves, which irritates me, is the invitation to things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a firm believer that I'm either on the list or not. That's one of my things I said in the podcast. So if I'm your friend, then I'm on the list. I'm not just on the list for like donations,
Right,
and sponsorship.
Well, they keep watching the show and they're like, they're philanthropic, so let me just put them on the list.
Yeah, so I need to come. I need to be invited to the Mayweather fight party every now and then,
Right.
Or some social things. It can't always be a money grab.
Right.
So I think that is a true test of a friend, is when not only transparency, which we talk about on the show as well, but also friends sometimes your friend will help you.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask them for help, but that relationship can't always be transactional.
Exactly.
Sometimes
it
it's
could be a
just
prayer.
us.
I'm gonna pray for you.
Yeah, sometimes it's just us getting together saying, hey, Chelsea, what's going on? How you doing? How you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't
Much
cost me.
better.
It shouldn't cost me when I do that
Exactly.
every time I see you.
Exactly.
So that was basically the gist of it.
Well,
It
I
came
just
out
urge you all to watch it. It is hilarious. And like I said, I love to watch it on my drive so I can just listen and laugh. And people are looking at me at the light like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, these two right here. The camaraderie is
pure
hilarious.
hilarity, I'm telling you.
But I will put a bow on that to say my 2 cents about fake friends. For me, I recognize it, move on, and I don't harbor on it.
Oh, of course.
If I see you in the streets, even though Amber doesn't want me to, I'm still going to speak to you. She's like, no, we don't like him. We don't like her because they're so mean to you. Or I heard them say something about you. That fuels me in a sense of, I'm just, hey, talked about, thought about, as my mother used to say. And haters make you greater, but I just put a bow on it and smile and pray for them and say, you know what? Years later or months later, you never know. You may need that person may need you, and they come full circle, but it's not my battle, but it's a great skill to have to be able to recognize who they are. So make sure, where can we find the podcast, Shalise? Married People's Business.
Married People's Business. If you want to listen anywhere you stream your audio podcast, I can't talk. And then check us out. It is the eclipse. Check us out on YouTube, Married People's Business. I'm understanding that our short reels are being watched several times.
Yes.
So
it might have been me. They're funny.
Look, they are hilarity. Like I said, I don't know what's ever going to come out this man's mouth. So,
but also with the podcast, you do have guests on. Are we recruiting? Talk about the criteria of individuals whom you may want to interview for Married People's Business.
So, the podcast, when we thought about doing it, one of the things we wanted to do was to have it be a mix of business and fun, because that's what Married People's Business is. It's not always us talking about spreadsheets and profit and loss margins, right?
Thank God.
So real, social things come up. So we have the Fun Fake Friends podcast. But then the other component of it is that we try to highlight and spotlight couples that are doing very well in their business pursuits.
Okay.
So, it's not always husband and wife. It could be siblings, or it could just be people that are not related that are in business together, because marriage is a business.
It is.
Or I should say business is a marriage. It works either way.
Yeah.
But when you go into business with somebody, it's no different than a marriage. It could go extremely bad for you if you pick the wrong partner, or it could be extremely good for you if you pick the right partner. So we try to highlight collaborations, and the criteria is if you're doing something good, if you have a business that you're collaborating on with somebody, if you're a married couple, great. If you're not, that's great too. We want to spotlight you. We want to highlight you and get your story out there.
I like it. And I nominate Roosevelt Haywood and his daughter Leslie
That's a good
to
one.
come on
That's
and
a
talk
good
That's a good
in
one, for sure.
ramping up the 40 year. So
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I reach out to them, and I know, of course, you know them, and we'll make that happen over the next few weeks or months. I would love to hear his lens from working with his daughter and her lens, and then just the whole 40-year history. What an amazing story they have to tell. See, and I won't even charge you all for that. See that? There you go. Speaking of philanthropy, because Mr. Haywood is also a very generous and philanthropic firm when you think about giving back to the community. I know that on our last conversation, we talked about the success of the UNCF Scholarship Breakfast, and I'm starting to see emails fly as we are brainstorming and moving into our fall activity. What are we looking at, Madam Chairperson?
We are trying to solidify the date for the walk. We have done a walk. UNCF does a walk usually in September. We've done it here in person for 2 years. We did not do it last year, I think. The year 2022 was the last time we did it, and we had partnered with WLTH to do that. So we're hoping we can do that again this year once we get the date confirmed, and looking for support for that, because we always need to support our students in their furthering their education, getting them not only to college but through college.
I'm glad the conversation has started early, because it's typically in the month of September. So as we continue to do these interviews, we'll give more updates on what's going on with UNCF. What's going on with the illustrious brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi?
Well, we're always in planning mode, you know, for our golf outing that's coming up in the summertime once the weather breaks. And we're always trying to raise money for our Kappa Leaguers and scholarships. So be on the lookout for the golf outing package that'll be coming out, and hope to see you on the links.
All right, sounds good. There's always amazing things going on in the city of Gary, particularly with Tolbert and Tolbert. But because of the eclipse, I'm not going to hold them any longer. We want to get back over to the window, or if he's going outside, I don't know what he's doing.
The lane?
But
You're looking up at the sun? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's what he's doing. But while he's doing that, can you tell people how to contact Tolbert and Tolbert if should they need your litigation services?
Yes, I can. Tolbert and Tolbert is located at 1085 Broadway in the heart of Gary, Indiana.
No, move out the way of that. Right hand, okay. And you can also
find us at TolbertLegal.com. All our socials are the same thing, Tolbert Legal, and phone number is 219-427-0094.
And we are signing out for the eclipse, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.